Hey guys, I just got back from seeing Godzilla Minus One, and I have to say, it's a tough act to follow, since I literally just watched Shin Godzilla a few days ago for the very first time. Arguably one of the best Godzilla movies that have been made in recent years, and it definitely lived up to the hype, and there was a lot of hype behind this film as well, especially after those initial trailers. Because I only really watched the teaser, and then I think the first trailer, that everything that came out after that, I just kind of avoided, because I knew I was going to see this, especially once I got the nice little pleasant surprise that this was actually going to be playing in theaters, and not just theaters in the States, locally for me. That usually doesn't happen. Now, while there wasn't that many showings of it, I still was able to check it out, and I had a blast, dude. I mean, I don't know of a time that I've actually seen an authentic Godzilla film in the theater. And I love seeing this specific iteration as well, in the same way that Shin Godzilla really kind of explores Japan's relationship with atomic weapons. This one takes a similar but also very different approach than Shin Godzilla, which is very much about the government's response and responsibility to managing a disaster. You know, I know that I think Shin Godzilla was kind of brought about, the idea behind it was about the response, or inspired by the response to the nuclear reactor that melted down a couple years back, and then that kind of inspired the story that told, and how that was handled, how that was managed. And in its own way, it was this kind of redemption arc for Japan's government. Was it taking responsibility for their part in the war and what that brought to their people? Unlike that, it's not set in present day. This is set right at the end of the war. Like, the first opening scene is in the final days of the war. Our primary character in this is a kamikaze pilot who didn't follow through on their prescribed mission. And then we're seeing this country, these people who have been ravaged by war. It challenges the idea of their involvement to begin with, and this idea of blind allegiances and throwing away one's life for something that doesn't mean anything to them directly, just because they were kind of told to. Where Shin Godzilla, I kind of felt like I got this vibe that it was more about the reclamation of Japan's government, the redemption of Japan's government in a way. This was much more focused on the people and how these decisions, how this war affected them. And not only that, how this creature kind of rallies them together. This takes place, again, like right after the war comes to a close. So Japan is already at its lowest moment, and because of certain political machinations that are going into the world, the government is very limited on what they can actually do, and everything comes down to the people themselves standing together and figuring out how to deal with this crisis, as this creature, awoken and empowered and embodied by radioactive weapons, comes stomping along their shores. And it is a wild ride, man. These characters you can sympathize with, you understand where they're coming from. It is tragic, but it is also fun. When I was in the film, I likened it to Jaws. We see these kind of people become a little bit of a found family. Japan's being demilitarized. They're going out on this boat to try to make ends meet, to clean up mines for a paycheck because work is very short. So they have to take this risky job just to get anything done. So they're going out on this boat, and this group of people are just, the way they kind of build this relationship is so much fun. It likened me to like Quinn, to Brody, to the whole crew in Jaws, in the way that they're going out there, though this is a much larger set of Jaws that they kind of stumble upon. And it's just a lot of fun. But at that same time, as much as it's fun, it's also heart-wrenchingly tragic. I found myself very invested in the human element of this film. I found it emotionally engaging, especially as these people are coming together to help lift each other back up, as Japan is trying to heal and find its place in the world right now, when its people are so scattered and distraught and kind of in this place of uncertainty. And then lo and behold, this giant thing just comes and just starts stepping all over them and blowing them up and taking them out. And you honestly, you feel for everybody along the way in this. Godzilla is terrifying. You know, there's no real discernible motivation in this one, which is also kind of a commentary in a way. Because in this, you know, Godzilla's always represented atomic power or the war itself. There's always been some kind of avatar that Godzilla manifests for within the realms of the film. And this is kind of like war. At least that was my perception of it. You know, it comes sometimes without warning, without meaning, without cause. At the end of the day, the people are the ones that have to deal with it, that have to pay for it. Oh man, I could talk about this one probably for hours on end. It's pretty wild. There are some times where it gets a little campy, a little cheesy, but I still found all those moments very warm. And that's kind of what I enjoyed about this. And Godzilla, this design, it's definitely up there. I don't know if I love it as much as some previous designs, but it very much so homages a lot of classic details. But there's also some very unique elements to this Godzilla that we haven't seen before that was a lot of fun. On top of that, for the budget that this movie has, this Godzilla looks really good. There's some times where we get full body shots of Godzilla and it looks a little rough. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna pretend it doesn't. But for the most part, Godzilla looks really damn good, and this movie has a fraction of the budget of any of the ones we've seen on our side of the pond. I think they handled it all really, really well. They put their money where it mattered, and that was with telling the story. And I think they nailed that. We also get to see some fresh things with Godzilla, like our introduction to Godzilla in this is both an homage to some of the earlier backstories for the creature, but also we get to see him do some things we haven't necessarily seen before. There's a lot of new elements and familiar elements all at the same time being married together in this fun little way. And there's not a character throughout this movie that I've been like, haha, get it, everybody. I was kind of really worried if they were going to make it out or not. And I don't always find that the case in these types of films, man. Sometimes you're just like, yeah, let Godzilla go on his rampage of destruction. Yeah, boom, boom, lasers, monster, yeah! And I didn't find myself like that in this. You know, I found myself very much so be like, I want everybody to make it out of this. It was just a very harrowing, uplifting journey. While there are some conveniences and some contrivances here and there, I think this was a really solid film, and I loved the music, the way they swelled, and they brought in like old Godzilla themes in a fun way, and Shin Godzilla did that too, and it's just like, I don't know, man. I think that like taking a step back, because they were kind of oversaturating themselves with Godzilla. Not that I was complaining, because I was eating all of it up, but it was kind of becoming a little, let's say, repetitive in the kind of stuff that they were kind of dishing out. And I know that, you know, Toho and all that, you know, wanted to take a break. You know, then we got our legendary films, and then they were like, all right, I think we've had enough of a break, and they're coming out swinging, man. They come out hitting hard with some pretty strong films that had stuff to say. Like, it wasn't just noise. It wasn't just action. It just wasn't these thrill rides. They all have those elements, but they have something to kind of impart. While it's very rooted in Japan's history and relationship with the world, with themselves, and with atomic weaponry itself, it's also something that you can relate to no matter where you're from, because I feel like a lot of this is extremely universal. While rooted in something very much at a unique Japanese experience, the themes themselves and the lessons themselves is something I think we can all walk away from feeling a little more enriched by the end of it all. But I really loved this film. I had a lot of fun with it. But guys, I'd love to know what you all thought. How did you feel about the movie? What did you think when you saw it? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe if you're not already. Make sure to check out my reactions to both Shin Godzilla and the latest episode of Monarch. You can see those on the channel right now as well. And before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends. Mandy Share, Ryan Karen, York Scott, Melito, Robert Anguiano, Jeffrey Hale, Jake Cantrell, Eric Official, Amy Becca, Casey Wood, Scythe, and JoJo. Thank you guys so much for continued support. But that's it for this video, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, everybody.